everybody? Welcome back to LTL Live. We're here on September 26, 2023. I want to welcome everybody back into the live show. We have a huge show planned this evening. We're going to dive back into Karen Read in the John O'Keefe murder trial. I totally screwed up. I was in the wrong StreamYard for the StreamYard for tomorrow night. So I'm gonna have to reset that, get that back up there. But I don't want to waste too much time because there's a lot going on here. We have a long PCA to read through tonight. Hopefully my voice will hold up. And what I want to just show really quick that's actively going on right now. There is a board selectman meeting in Canton, Massachusetts right now. It is live. I've actually paused it so we can take a look, but I want to just bring that up. And you can see that there is active protesting at that hearing right now. And actually Turtle Boy is there. And then I just want to show this, and then I want to talk a little bit about what's going on because it is very divided on both sides. Let's pull that up really quick so you can see it. And you can see people are very serious about this.
Next is the phase 2 of the
Turtle Boy is right here with the red shirt on, holding the sign. A lot of full protesting, it's a packed house. It's a packed house there tonight in support for Karen Read. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm very divided on this case as I look for more into it. And I'll talk about that. I'll talk about how I feel. I'll talk about what this may do with some people on the channel. But we'll take a look here. Check this out. Active protesting right now at the Canton Select Board this evening. This is live, but I had paused it, so we're a little bit on a delay. Just wanted to show the active crowd protesting.
Downtown paving walk project. So phase 1 is complete from Village Shops all the way down to Dr. Thomas Funeral Home. Did a beautiful job.
See if I can get a shot of the crowd.
Phase 2 was supposed to commence right away, but they're having the dreaded supply chain issue.
And you can see this earlier today.
Capital allocation.
Here's the protesting here in support for Karen Read. And they have a packed house tonight at the Canton, Mass Board of Select. I'll play a little bit of this.
Then in 2 weeks in March 20th and 27th, the school committee and select board representatives will review the overall operating budget requests with the finance committee to provide them with input. And then the finance committee will look to make their votes, their recommendations on all the operating budgets, school and municipal, on April 3rd.
So I'm not going to play too much more of that. Again, I just wanted to let everybody know kind of what was going on in Canton, Mass tonight, actively right now, active protesting in support of Karen Read at the Canton Select Board hearing. I'm not sure if anybody's going to have the opportunity to stand up and speak. They may be able to do that. But again, I just wanted to open some eyes and ears as to what's going on. So I had an opportunity today a little bit to look into this case, read through somewhat of the PCA. And I plan on reading through the full read of the PCA tonight if my voice can hold up. And I want to make sure that everybody understands what's going on here. There are two sides that are in very much support for Karen Read. And there are two sides and there's another side that is totally against her, that they feel that she committed this crime. I am still 50-50 down the middle. I'm trying to keep myself to an open mind. And the thing that I think is going to become very controversial in this, and this is where I asked the question. I asked it last night when I started reviewing this case. If we take the law enforcement angle out of this, let's just say these are regular people that are inside 34 Fairview, and they weren't law enforcement officials or law enforcement officers, would you feel different about this case? Now, I have friends that are law enforcement. I have friends that are prior law enforcement. I have my family, my great uncles all served as firefighters. I respect the badge. I respect the blue. I'm a Second Amendment person. I'm First Amendment speech. I feel in our society today that 99.99999% of police officers are here to help our communities, police our communities. So this is it's a very touchy case, and I may piss some people off. I may gain some supporters in this. But I think it deserves a deep dive, and I think it deserves to get the information out there so we can all make a determination. And I will understand that people may not agree, and people may disagree with me, and people may agree with me. I'm still 50-50. I'm trying to keep an open mind on both sides. But you know, again, we'll continue to put material in front of your eyes as best as I can present it, and we'll try to understand what happened. I still don't understand what happened, even reading through that PCA, but I do have a lot of questions. I do have a lot of questions. So, but if something shady happened, then that needs to be called out, and the people or person need to be held responsible for that. And if Karen Reed is the person that did this solely alone by herself, then she's got a lot of answering to do, and she needs to be held for her actions in this case. So I just want to make that very clear. This is an extremely touchy case, and you know, I think even just for doing these streams, I may piss some people off, but I want to make sure that we just have a better understanding, and I will leave it up to you to make your determination, and I may come up with a determination or the way that I feel in this case as I continue to go through it. So let's do this. We'll give the PCA a read tonight. It's very fascinating. It's loaded with a lot of information. I have some questions, but we're going to give it our best here to get through it and read through this. So what I've done for you already is at the top of the chat, if you want to read the PCA after or save it for your files, it'll be there for you. You can just click on the link and save it to whatever appropriate bookmark that you need to do. Also, I want to just thank everybody for coming into the chat. My mods are here. I know the chat will fill in. This is a very fascinating case. And if you can watch these lives and go through this material with us, I think that you will be just as drawn in as the Idaho case. I completely agree with that. I urge people to look into this case and come up with what you think happened based on the case evidence. This is going to be the next case, and there's already rumors out there that there is actively right now a documentary being shot in Massachusetts about this case. So I'm not sure if it's going to be like a Netflix series or an HBO series, but it is actively being shot right now. That is the rumor that is out there. Sorry, I'm just catching up a little bit here. It's like I go live and I start getting a million notifications. All right, let's get to this PCA. Let's start to read through it here. I'm going to do my best with my language. Again, I have a mild form of dyslexia. I stutter, so just bear with me. So the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. I may not see your chat as I am reading through this, so I'll try to look up as best as I can, but feel free to chat as we go, because it's going to be almost impossible for me to see the chat here as we go. I'm going to probably try to enlarge this a little bit more. Nope, it doesn't like that. Okay, so I'll try to do my best here to read through. You can follow along, and again, if you want to try to read through this after, I've pinned the link to the top of the chat. You can look at that yourself. All right. Whew, I got a lot of reading to do. So here's the introduction. It now comes the Commonwealth respectfully request that this honorable court deny the defendant's Rule 17 motion for order directed by Brian Albert. The defendant's motion should be denied. Furthermore, the portion of the defendant's motion addressed to the production of Mr. Albert's cell phone should more appropriately be framed as a motion for reconsideration. where the same motion was previously heard and denied by the court. Regardless, motion should be denied because the defendant has failed to demonstrate that the requested cellular telephone is eventually irrelevant and the application is not not made in good faith, but rather is a fishing expedition, and that is in quotes, for the evidence of purpose conspiracy amongst these witnesses supported merely by speculation and conjecture. Okay, here we go. These are the facts. This is what the state is saying. So on January 29th, 2022, at approximately 6:04 a.m., a Canton Police Department received a 911 call from Warman reporting a male party, subsequently identified as victim John O'Keefe. We want to make sure that we always understand this, that a Boston police officer has lost his life. So we need to find justice for this victim. Found in the snow outside 34 Fairview Road. At the time of the 911 call, there was an active blizzard occurring with heavy snow and the temperature in the teens. Officer Sheriff and Mulhaney, not Dylan Mulhaney, both of the Canton Police Department were dispatched to the scene along with Canton Fire and EMS. Officer Sheriff was the first officer to arrive on the scene, where he observed three females waving him from the front yard area of the residence. OS cruised camera footage was viewed. Cruiser camera footage was viewed by the grand jury in this matter and admitted as grand jury exhibit number 56. See attached. The footage depicts the weather and visibility conditions during the officer's transit and arrival to the scene shortly before the body of the victim was discovered and the 911 call was placed. In the video, OS can be seen utilizing the spotlight attached to his driver's side of the cruiser as he attempts to locate the calling parties in the darkness and the blizzard conditions. Excuse me. Looking at the residence of 34 Fairview Road from the street, there are three females that were left. The three females were in the left corner of the property and in the area of the flagpole and the fire hydrant. Officer Sheriff observed the victim lying on the ground as two females were performing CPR on him. What I want to do for you all, so you understand where this is and what happened, or where this crime scene was, is I'm going to show you right here on Google Earth. So they're talking about this area right here. Right in this area here is the fire hydrant. Over in this area right here is where O'Keefe's body was found. So just up near the flagpole right here. That's the house. So everybody just gets a clear picture. Okay. I'm actually going to go out there tomorrow and get some video. All right, let's keep reading through here. So looking at the residence of 34 in the area of the flagpole and the fire hydrant, Officer Sheriff observed the victim lying on the ground as two females were performing CPR on him. The three females on the scene were identified as defendant Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Kerry Roberts. OS further observed the victim to be cold to the touch and not breathing. He returned to his cruiser and retrieved his AED device, which is a device to start your heart. However, at this time, Canton Fire and EMS arrived on scene and took over resuscitative efforts. Paramedics transferred Mr. O'Keefe to Good Samaritan Medical Center in Brockton, where he was subsequently determined to be deceased by Dr. Justin Rice hours later. Lieutenant Paul Gallagher, Detective Sergeant Michael Link, and Sergeant Sean Goody, excuse me, also of the Canton Police Department, arrived on the scene moments after the 911 call had been received. Following the victim's transport from the scene, they began to search for any evidence around where Mr. O'Keefe had been discovered in the mounds of snow in front of the lawn of the residence adjacent to the roadway. They located a broken cocktail style glass and multiple patches of red that appeared to be blood in the vicinity of where the body had been located. The Canton police officers secured the glass with six blood samples from the snow as evidence. Excuse me. Later that morning, the Massachusetts Police Detective Unit of the Norfolk District Attorney Office was notified and responded to the scene as well. Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant, oh boy, I'm going to mess up. I think it's Burkheine, were among the troopers who responded and began interviewing witnesses. They first spoke to Miss McCabe. Miss McCabe indicated that she and some friends were at the Waterfall Bar and Grill during the evening of January 28th. She arrived with her husband, Matthew, at approximately 9 p.m. following one of the children's high school basketball games earlier in the evening. At approximately 11 p.m., Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed arrived at the waterfall together. Miss McCabe stated that Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed had been in a dating relationship for approximately 2 years, and that Miss Reed stayed at Mr. O'Keefe's house most nights. Miss McCabe observed Miss Reed walk into the bar holding a glass cup from C.F. McCarthy's with a clear liquid inside that she believed was a vodka soda drink. Miss Reed had entered the waterfall with the glass inside her coat. Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed had been at C.F. McCarthy's, a bar across the street from the waterfall, prior to coming to the waterfall. I wish I could make notes and just go back to stuff. I'm going to have to make notes and go back to stuff because I have a lot of questions. Miss McCabe observed Mr. O'Keefe to be wearing a baseball hat, jeans, and sneakers. She stated that the defendant and the victim appeared to be in a good mood and did not observe any arguing between the two throughout the course of the evening. She further described the atmosphere within the bar as friendly with no arguments amongst any of the patrons. The description of the group and the atmosphere within the bar between the defendant and the victim was consistent with each of the witness presentations that the troopers interviewed through the course of their investigation. As the bar began to close, everyone with their group was invited back to 34 Fairview Road, the residence of Miss McCabe's sister, Nicole Albert, and her husband, Brian. She observed Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed to leave the waterfall together. As Miss McCabe was arriving at her vehicle, and this is important, she received a text message from Mr. O'Keefe asking where to at 12:14 a.m. Miss McCabe replied to the address of 34 Fairview Road at 12:18 a.m. Mr. O'Keefe called Miss McCabe to ask more specifically where the house was located on Fairview. While inside the residence, following her arrival there, Miss McCabe observed a black SUV consistent with Miss Reed's vehicle, a 2021 black Lexus SUV, arrive in front of the residence. From her vantage point at the back door of the home, of the front door from the home, sorry. Miss McCabe texts Mr. O'Keefe at 12:31 a.m. stating, hello. And again at 12:40 a.m., pull up behind me, referencing to her vehicle parking spot within the driveway to the home located on the right side of the property if you're looking at the residence from the street. Miss McCabe then observed the black SUV move from its initial place where it had stopped on the street near the driveway and proceeded to the left side of the property where Mr. O'Keefe's body was subsequently discovered later in the morning. At 12:45 a.m., Miss McCabe texted Mr. O'Keefe again, hello, and then observed the black SUV drive away from the home. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this link out there too. So if you want to look at the property, oh shit, it's not going to do that. It's too big of a link. Damn it. You can Google it though. You're all smart. If you want to kind of recreate and look in your mind here of what all these pieces have to put together. But I'm going to get out there tomorrow and get some video of the area. So at approximately 4:53 a.m., Miss McCabe stated that she received a phone call from Miss Reed looking for Mr. O'Keefe. The phone call was placed by the victim's juvenile niece at the defendant's direction to Miss McCabe's cellular phone. Miss McCabe answered the call from the victim's niece, spoke to her briefly, and the niece handed the phone to the defendant. The defendant sounded distraught over the phone and drove over to Miss McCabe's home. The defendant told Miss McCabe that she last remembered seeing the victim at the Waterfall Bar. Miss McCabe then informed the defendant that she observed the defendant and the victim leaving the bar together. Miss McCabe also later informed the defendant that she had seen them in Miss Reed's vehicle in front of the home on Fairview. The defendant also informed Miss McCabe that she and the victim had gotten into an argument the last time she seen him. The defendant arrived at Miss McCabe's home around 5:30 a.m. Shortly after the defendant arrived at Miss McCabe's home, Miss Kathy Roberts arrived there, as she also received phone calls from the defendant that early morning looking for the victim. Miss McCabe then drove Miss Reed's vehicle from her house back to Mr. O'Keefe's house, as she was too hysterical, and Miss Roberts following along in their own vehicle. While driving to Mr. O'Keefe's house, the defendant stated to Miss McCabe, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?" Miss McCabe stated that the defendant also told her about a cracked taillight on her vehicle. Once they arrived at the victim's home, the defendant had Miss McCabe look at the cracked taillight, which Miss McCabe described as the passenger side right rear taillight, as cracked and missing pieces. Miss McCabe and the defendant then entered Mr. Roberts' vehicle to go look for the victim. The defendant was seated in the passenger side while Miss Roberts drove, and Miss McCabe was seated within the front passenger seat. Miss McCabe stated that they turned onto Fairview Road from Chapman Street, and at that time, it was snowing heavily with the wind blowing, creating poor visibility. Miss McCabe stated that just prior to 34 Fairview, there was a cluster of trees, and immediately the defendant stated that she saw the victim. The statement initially confused Miss McCabe and Miss Roberts, as they were unable to see Mr. O'Keefe's body laying in the snow. Miss McCabe stated that the defendant screamed to open the door, and she ran directly to the body near the cluster of trees that laid on top of him from warmth, and began CPR. Miss McCabe stated that the victim was lying on his back, covered in approximately 6 inches of snow, with his phone on the ground underneath him. The defendant yelled at Miss McCabe twice to Google, "How long do you have to be left in the snow to die from hypothermia?" or something to that effect. On January 29th, the troopers interviewed Mr. Matthew McCabe separately from his wife. Mr. McCabe indicated that he had known Mr. O'Keefe for approximately 8 years and had met Miss Reed a handful of times. He stated that he was at the Waterfall Bar on Saturday night and observed the victim and the defendant enter together. He observed the victim to be wearing a baseball hat with a curved visor, and Miss Reed to be drinking a clear liquid, possibly vodka. Mr. McCabe stated that he left the bar last from his group, and he headed to his in-laws at 34 Fairview Road. He entered his vehicle, and his wife, Jennifer, was on the phone with the victim, telling her to go to 34 Fairview. Do I have everybody in the chat? You still with me? Give me a 1 if you're all still with me. Everybody's still with me. Type a 1. Welcome in, everybody. If you're just coming in, we're reading through the PCA. Good to see everybody. Awesome. I'm drawn in on this already. Something doesn't seem right. I got a lot of questions. All right. We're going to keep reading on. Thank you, everybody. I know by tomorrow I probably won't have a voice, and we're only on page 7, so I got to keep going here. While at Fairview residence, he observed a large dark SUV pull up in front of the house on the street. He had been looking out the open door through the glass storm door and described the SUV positioning as initially parked in front of the house. Mr. McCabe looked out the window some minutes later and observed the same vehicle and had moved towards the left side of the property. Minutes following that, he observed the same vehicle driving off Fairview, heading in the same direction it had been facing while parked. Troopers also interviewed the homeowners of 34 Fairview, Brian and Nicole Albert. Both confirmed they had been at the Waterfall Bar previous evening with the friends and family and had left around closing and returned to their home. Throughout the evening, they both indicated that the victim and defendant, neither whom they knew particularly well, entered the bar and joined the group. They indicated that several people from the group had been invited back to their home following the bar, and several arrived, staying for approximately 1 hour. Both indicated in their sworn testimony before the grand jury in this matter that their nephew, Colin Albert, while present at the home upon the arrival, had left their home well before any of the guests' arrival from the waterfall. Several other witnesses called before the grand jury similarly confirmed this. Neither were aware that the defendant and the victim had planned on coming over, although they would have had no issue if they had been aware. Neither heard nor saw anything outside of their home over the course of the morning until Miss McCabe awaked them. Prior to Miss McCabe entering the home and waking them up in their bedroom, Miss McCabe's cellular phone, which was downloaded by members of the Massachusetts State Police following her consigned consent, shows phone calls from Miss McCabe's phone to both Nicole and Brian's phone. The first call to Nicole Albert occurs at 6:07 and 42 seconds, and while listed as answered, lasted for only 9 seconds. The second call to Nicole Albert occurs at 6:08 and 17, and while also listed as answered, lasts for a duration of 7 seconds. The call to Brian Albert occurred at 6:23 and is listed as unanswered. Troopers also interviewed Mr. Ryan Nagel. Mr. Nagel's sister Julie had been at 34 View the evening of the 28th, visiting the Albert's son for his birthday. Mr. Nagel stated that he had been contacted by his sister asking for a ride home. His friend drove with Mr. Nagel in the front passenger seat of his girlfriend of the rear cab of his friend's Ford F-150 pickup truck to Fairview. As the truck was driven down Cedar Crest Road, he observed a set of he observed a set of headlights of a mid-sized black SUV coming from the opposite direction on Cedar Crest, and the truck had been traveling and yielded to the SUV, making a right turn onto Fairview, and then followed behind it, executing its left turn onto Fairview. Mr. Nagel stated that the truck stopped directly in front of the driveway to the home and remembered the black SUV stopping along the right-hand curb towards the left side of the property. He remained within the truck while his sister exited the home and asked them to come inside. He declined the invitation, and his sister eventually decided to stay at the home and make other transportation arrangements. As his sister returned to the house, Mr. Nagel observed the black SUV pull up in approximately 1 to 1.5 car lengths to the left edge of the home property, where the flagpole was located along some bushes. He stated that the SUV driver did not appear to place the vehicle in park at any point. He observed, as the rear brake lights were illuminated throughout his observation, to include the third top center light. Mr. Nagel reported no noises coming from the interior of the SUV. Mr. Nagel indicated that his friend pulled away from the side of the road when they were leaving. They drove past the black SUV. He observed the interior light on within the vehicle and a Caucasian female operator seated in the vehicle holding the steering wheel at 10 and 2, staring straight ahead of her. Troopers also later interviewed Mr. Nagel's sister, Mr. Julia Nagel, as well as her friend, Sarah Levinston, both whom been present at home on Fairview on January 28th and the 29th. and both whom were given a ride home by the McCabe's. Both indicated that they had been at the home on Fairview for Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday on that evening. Both provided a list of other individuals there. Both indicated that the Alberts, Brian and Nicole, arrived in that evening from Waterfall and listed those in the group that included the Alberts, the McCabe's, and Mr. Higgins. Both indicated that no one else had entered the home while they were there, and they left and got a ride home from the McCabe's. Miss Leviston recalled Miss McCabe saying that someone else was coming over. That person never arrived. Excuse me. Juliana Nagel stated that she had called her brother Ryan for a ride home at approximately 12 a.m. While waiting for him to arrive, she was looking out the kitchen window and observed the SUV stop by the mailbox with the front of the SUV facing Chapman Street. She stated that she further observed the SUV travel along the front of the house and stop between the mailboxes and the flagpole where it came to a stop. She observed the SUV further pull up close to the flagpole and stop again. She went outside to speak with her brother and noticed that it was lightly snowing at the time. After her brother declined her offer to come inside, she indicated to him that she would arrange an alternative way home. She went back inside the home with the SUV still parked in a unfermentable position. Mr. Nagel stated that she left the residence in the McCabe's vehicle sometime between 1:30 and 2 a.m., with McCabe driving and Miss McCabe in the front passenger seat, her behind the driver's seat, and Miss Levinson seating in the front behind Miss McCabe. Mr. McCabe reversed out of the driveway as they traveled past the house. Mr. Nagel indicated that she thought she saw something. She described a dark object in the snow by the flagpole, but couldn't determine what it was. Later that day, January 29th, Trooper Matthew Dewin, and David DeChico interviewed Miss Kerry Roberts. Miss Roberts, and I apologize, I'm getting some of these names wrong. Mr. Roberts stated that at approximately 5 a.m., she received a call from the defendant stating that John did not come home. It was snowing, and she was worried. The defendant further stated, Miss Roberts, John's dead. Kerry, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing, and he got hit by a plow. Mr. Roberts got dressed and left in her vehicle, eventually meeting the defendant at the McCabe's home, where she observed the defendant to be hysterical. Miss Roberts stated that she believed the defendant was still intoxicated in the morning and had told her that she did not remember last night. Miss Roberts reported the defendant as stating to her, I was so drunk, I don't even remember going to your sister's last night, referring to Miss McCabe's sister, the homeowner at 34 Fairview Road. Miss Roberts followed the defendant's black SUV back to Mr. O'Keefe's house. They went inside the home for a period of time looking for him, to no avail, checking on the victim's niece. While the victim's home, Miss Roberts stated that the defendant had told her and Miss McCabe about a cracked rear passenger light and showed the both of them the area of the vehicle. Miss Roberts then drove her vehicle with Miss McCabe in the front passenger seat and the defendant in the rear passenger seat to 34 Fairview. She and Miss McCabe were scanning the sides of the roadway along the driveway looking for the victim, while the defendant periodically screamed and texted on her phone as they drove. Miss Roberts described the weather as whiteout conditions as they were driving around. As they arrived in the area of 34 Fairview, Miss Roberts stated that the defendant screamed, "There he is, I see him," from inside the vehicle and screamed to be let out. Even after initially exiting the vehicle, Miss Roberts stated that she still could not see the victim in the conditions and further stated that his body was all covered with snow. She stated that the victim's body was approximately 12 feet from the roadway. This is important. 12 feet from the roadway. God, I wish I could make like notes. I wish I had someone taking notes. All right, hang on. She observed let's see. This is getting into the injuries now. This is very important. She stated that the victim's body was approximately 12 feet from the roadway. So from that roadway where I showed you, 12 feet would be just about where that flagpole was. She observed him to have a swollen right eye with a laceration above it and the blood around his nose and mouth. Miss Roberts stated that they immediately began CPR and Miss McCabe called 911. Miss Roberts stated that she observed the victim be lying on his back with his arms by his side. She noticed that his right eye was swollen shut and there was blood coming from his nose and mouth. When the paramedics arrived, they lifted the victim's body onto a stretcher. Miss Roberts observed the grass underneath the victim's back, not covered in snow as the remainder of the area was. The defendant repeatedly asked Miss Roberts and Miss McCavey and the officers and paramedics, "Is he dead?" repeating that paraphrase numerously times each. The defendant further grabbed Miss Roberts by the arm at one point and asked her if they were really working on John or was he already dead. I don't know. The thing that's really weird about this already that I look at it, the thing that I always see that I think is just weird about this is, okay, let's QB this really quick. All right, you got a lot of people that are saying that she didn't do it. Okay, let's say if she did do it. But we're already finding out information here that she said that she was blasted drunk. Let's just say she was drunk, okay? And she hit him and didn't know she hit him and left. That could be a possibility. But, I mean, the injuries seem a lot. And we're going to get into this more. And there's already someone that has recreated the scene. So I want you all to see that. I have a lot of questions in this case. And I have to say, and maybe I can take a poll on this. Is this a head scratcher for all of you? Because I have a lot of questions, and I'm going to have to go through this again at some point and read through it and make notes. And I think that's really the only way you can tackle it, because there's so many names, there's so many people involved, there's so many questions. So it's definitely something to keep going through. If you're just coming in the chat, I really would appreciate it. We got about 70 people in the room. We're trying to get to the goal of 100 likes tonight. So if you can smash that like button, it's free to do that. I really would appreciate it. All right, let's go here. Page 11. In addition, Trooper, I think it's Buchanan, interviewed Nicholas and Karina. Oh God, why is all these crazy names? I'm going to say Karina. I don't want to butcher anybody's names here. Both were presented with the group at the waterfall on the evening of January 28th. They arrived there at approximately 9 and 9:30 p.m., respectively, as they came in separate cars following the daughter's high school basketball game. They known the victim for approximately 5 to 6 years and met the defendant a handful of times. They stated that the victim and the defendant arrived at Waterfall together at approximately 11 p.m., arriving from C.F. McCarthy's across the street. I'm just going to say Miss K. Miss K spoke for a period of time with the defendant and observed her to be drinking vodka soda cocktails while at the bar. You know, we keep getting this thing about Karen drinking. You know, that's like what I'm seeing in this PCA, drinking. They keep pointing out the point that she was drinking. So that's why I raised the question. You know, they're saying that it's on purpose. She's now had her charges upgraded to second-degree murder. But let's just say this. Let's say she did hit him, but didn't know that she hit him. And she left because she was inebriated and didn't realize that she hit him. Or something else happened. Something else happened in that house. And there's that side of it. And there's a lot of evidence on that side that show that he did go inside the house. And then you look at his injuries. And it looks like he maybe had been in a fight. Because I just don't see, can a car cause the injuries that he had? They look pretty brutal. And what we're hearing didn't sound like, we're getting an idea. So I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. Because that's the repeated thing that I keep seeing here. The drinking. Everybody was really drunk. All right. That's why I said I'm 50-50 right now until something can convince me on either side. All right. They stated that the victim and the defendant had arrived at Waterfall together at approximately 11 p.m., arriving at C.F. McCarthy's across the street. Ms. K spoke for a period of time with the defendant and observed her to be drinking vodka soda cocktails while at the bar. She also recalled the defendant pushing quite a bit for a member of the group, Christopher Albert, the owner of a local pizza shop, to go across the street after leaving the bar to keep partying while he made pies for everyone. When it was time to leave, Miss K indicated that she walked out with Miss McCabe and observed the victim and the defendant to walk out together and proceed to the left of the driveway and up Washington Street, where their vehicle was parked along a curb, facing back up towards Waterfall. Miss K indicated that her vehicle was also parked along Washington Street, but further down facing the opposite direction. From there, she observed the defendant walking towards the driver's side of her black SUV. She further indicated that during the course of the conversation that evening with the defendant complained about the victim's mother and the lack of private time the couple had for vacations because of the children, their activities, and their responsibilities. She also described her as fine, and she did not believe the defendant to be overly intoxicated. On January 30th, Trooper B and Proctor interviewed Canton firefighter Katie McClellan. She then assigned to Station 1 on the 29th and indicated that at approximately 6 a.m., Canton Fire and EMS had been dispatched to 34 View Road. No, the charges have now been upgraded to second-degree murder. It was initially a manslaughter charge. And this is the thing, too. All the documents in this case the state keeps filing always change the version of events. That's what I mean. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. It's very, very weird. For the male party in the snow, okay, hang on, sorry. In dispatch to 34 for a male party in the snow and unresponsive. Upon arrival, Miss McClellan observed the victim to have trauma to his face, his eye area, and vomit in his mouth. Really? She observed the victim to be dressed in jeans, socks, and one black Nike sneaker. The victim's shirts were cut and his chest exposed for chest compression. So it doesn't sound like he has a jacket on, and he doesn't sound like he has a sweatshirt or anything on, just a shirt. Interesting. Miss McClaw, that's very interesting. And apparently what Turtle Boy is reporting, that the police never went in. Yes, icebreakers. That the police never went in and investigated or looked in the house. Why? Why would you not do that? This case is weird. Miss McClellan had exited the ambulance to speak with the defendant as to the victim's identity and medical history. The defendant provided the victim's name and date of birth. Miss M also asked the defendant if she knew where the victim had suffered the trauma to his face and eye, and the defendant turned to her friend and stated repeatedly, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," in response to the paramedic's question. Excuse me. Following the initial witness interviews on January 29th, Trooper B and P then proceeded to the Good Samaritan view the victim. They observed 6 bloody lacerations varying in the length on his right arm. The cuts extend from his forearm to his biceps. Both of the victim's eyes were swollen shut and black and blue in color. The trooper observed a cut to the right eyelid of the victim. The victim's clothing consisted of blue jeans, an orange t-shirt, long sleeve gray shirt, and boxer shirts were soaked wet and saturated with blood and vomit. All that from someone hitting? So let's just say you even backed up into, and we're going to show a demonstration here in a minute. How is that even possible? Let's just say I was standing there and someone backed up to me and they're saying, I think that she backed up from 60 feet. That's what they're claiming. And I think it's in this. She backed up from 60 feet and hit him and he flew 12 feet. But all that injury from that, I would think like you would get like an arm injury, maybe your ribs, your leg, 2 black eyes, a laceration on your head, a laceration over your eye, blood and vomit. This is odd. The victim also observed to have one black Nike sneaker with a white logo on the side. The victim's medical records were admitted as an exhibit for the grand jury in this matter. Though, throughout the medical records, the attention, physical and medical personnel described the victim's injury at length. Said description of the injury and the medical conditions: right superior orbital ridge region, 7 millimeter laceration plus surrounding soft tissue swelling and contusion. Breath sounds bilaterally, pulse, superficial abrasions, right forearm, time of death as noted as 7:50 a.m. On January 31st, oh boy, I'm not going to get this. Dr. Bello, I was going to say that, from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe. The doctor observed the trooper that she observed several abrasions to the right forearm, 2 swollen black eyes, a small cut above the right eye, a cut to the left side of his nose, an approximately 2-inch laceration to the back of his head, and multiple skull fractures that resulted in bleeding of the brain. Dr. Bello opined from her examination that the significant blunt force trauma injuries occurred prior to Mr. O'Keefe becoming hypothermic, as evidenced by hemorrhaging in his pancreas and stomach. What the fuck is going on? Mr. O'Keefe had arrived at Good Samaritan Medical Center with a body temperature reading in the low 80s. A doctor opined that the extensive injuries to his head likely rendered Mr. O'Keefe incapacitated. The doctor further opined that upon viewing Mr. O'Keefe's injuries in her examination of the body, she observed no signs of Mr. O'Keefe being involved in any type of physical altercation or fight. In addition, Dr. Bello testified extensively regarding her examination and findings that before this grand jury. Let's see. In her testimony, the doctor described the medical definitions of lacerations, contusions, and abrasions, as well as differences between the three. The doctor testified that the victim had abrasions on his right arm. She described abrasions and scratches caused by blunt object contact with a blunt object. She went on to describe them as a cluster of them on his right arm and his right forearm, mostly linear and ranging from size from a few milliliters up to 7 centimeters. Dr. B testified that throughout external examination of the body, she observed no signs of an altercation or fight. The doctor also testified extensively to the injuries or swelling of the victim's eyes. Dr. B testified that from her examination of the victim, both external and internal, that the bleeding had subsequently swelling around his eyes was related to the very small fractures in his skull. She testified specifically that the injury initiated or started in the back of the head, causing all the fractures in the skull, and the eyes got red or black or purple because of seepage of blood from the small blood vessels. The neuropathy report completed by Dr. Renee Stonebridge, also of the Officer of Chief Medical Examiner, consisted of Dr. B's findings. At approximately 4:30 p.m. on January 29th, Trooper B and Proctor arrived at the residence of Dighton, Mass., the home of the defendant's parents. Upon their arrival, they observed a large black SUV bearing registration registered to the defendant parked outside the garage door in the driveway to the home. The troopers observed the right rear passenger satellite to be shattered and a large red piece of plastic to be missing from the taillight. The troopers were invited into the home and observed the defendant seated on the living room couch. The defendant agreed to speak with the troopers. The defendant indicated to the trooper that she had met the victim at C.F. McCarthy's bar in Canton at approximately 9 p.m. on the evening prior. Do I still have everybody in the chat? Give me a 1. You're still with me. I think we're going to get through this tonight. Do I have everybody fascinated? Give me a 1. All right, everybody's still here. All right, good. I think I have everybody captivated. If you haven't already, please make sure to give this stream a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button down below. Again, I think this is going to be the it case. This is going to be the it case. This is going to be the next one. And I'm completely pulled into this case now. Completely pulled into it. All in for me. Okay, let's keep going here. The victim had been there with friends prior to her arrival. She stated that the victim was drinking beers and she was drinking vodka sodas. She described the glassware she was drinking out of as a vase style. And I did say vase. The defendant stated that she and the victim left C.F. McCarthy's and went to Waterfall, but denied that she had taken any drink from one of the bars to the next. She stated that they were at the Waterfall for approximately an hour, and during that time, there were no arguments amongst anyone present there. When she and the victim were leaving at Waterfall, she stated that they were invited to a house on Fairview Road. The defendant stated that she had dropped the victim at the house on Fairview and went home as she was having stomach issues at the previous bar. The defendant stated that she dropped the victim off, then made a 3-point turn in the street to the left. I want to see the camera footage. Someone's got to have cameras around there. I want to see the 3-point turn. Gee, sounds like another case that we're watching, right? That we're paying attention to? A 3-point turn? Sounds like that Idaho case. I want to see the camera footage in and around there. And there's a lot of people that live in around that neighborhood. There's police officers that live in that neighborhood. I'm sure they have cameras, right? Right? Danielle said, not a 3-point turn again. Candy said, show them cameras. All right, let's keep going here. I am so pulled into this. She stated that she did not see the victim enter the residence. The defendant indicated that she first observed the broken taillight in the morning and did not know how she broke it the previous evening. The victim was uninjured when she dropped him off at the house. Here's the funny thing. There is actually camera footage of Karen Reed backing up into John O'Keefe's car, and you can see that the taillight is just about the same height as the car, and there's speculation that that's how she might have broke her taillight, because she actually, when you see the camera footage, his car moves forward, so she hits his car, and they're saying that as she drove away, that's how her taillight cracked or how it broke. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of captivating shit in this. It's crazy. I'm like so pulled into this. Oh man, what a crazy case. The victim was uninjured when she dropped him off at the house. However, she discovered him the next morning. She observed him lying face up, snow on his legs, his eyes swollen, blood coming from his nose and mouth. She stated that she began providing mouth to mouth. The defendant further stated that she attempted to contact the victim throughout the night, calling and texting him numerous times with no response. She stated that they had a verbal argument that morning over what the defendant fed the victim's niece for breakfast. The troopers further asked the defendant for contact information relating to the people that she had indicated the presence at the bar. The defendant obliged, and prior to providing said information, the troopers observed the defendant to enter numerical passcode into her phone to unlock it prior to retrieving said data. I don't know. Something seems weird. Something seems weird about this. Something seems weird about this. I don't know. The black SUV was seized from the driveway of the defendant's parents' home in Dighton on January 29th. The vehicle was then transported via tow to the Canton Police Department. On February 1st, members of the Massachusetts Police Crime Scene Service Selection, whoa, say that 15 times fast, a crime lab chemist, and Trooper Joseph Paul of the Massachusetts State Police Collision Analysis and Reconstruction, called CARS, that's cool, responded to the department. They observed fragments of broken glass on the rear bumper of the vehicle. The rear right passenger side taillight was shattered and pieces were observed missing from the red and clear areas. On the right side of the rear taillight, a deep scratch and minor dent was observed. On the right side of the rear bumper, above the small red light, 2 scratches were observed, as well as one around the area where the paint was chipped off. Troopers from the CARS unit performed a rapid acceleration, forward, and reverse test of the vehicle and noted no deficiencies with the vehicle's braking system or other operations. Troopers placed a training figure resembling a human approximately 6 feet in height from behind the Lexus. The vehicle was operated by a CARS trooper, documented with a video from the crime scene. The vehicle was placed in reverse and started to travel towards the training figure. The rear view camera within the vehicle was operating properly, displaying an on-screen center of the dashboard, and provided a 360-degree overhead visual. As the Lexus traveled closer to the figure, both the auditory and visual cues within the vehicle sounded off, indicating the obstruction to the rear. In addition, forensic scientist Maureen Hartnett responded to the Canton Police Department on the day that took samples from the Lexus. She observed damage to the rear of the vehicle on the passenger side, indicating a dent and chipped paint on the trunk door and a broken taillight and scratches on the bumper. An apparent hair was noted on the rear passenger side quarter panel. Said apparently hair was subsequently been forensically tested and confirmed as human hair. Apparently glass was also noted on the rear bumper. Also on January 29th, Massachusetts State Police Special Emergency Response Team, CERT, was activated in assisting searching for possible evidence outside 34 Fairview. Members of CERT team located a black Nike sneaker with a white Nike logo along the side, matching the one worn of the victim of his time. His body was discovered. In the same area where the body had been recovered, 2 red plastic pieces of taillight were located, consistent to the pieces missing from the defendant's black Lexus. 29. In the same area where the body had been covered, 2 red plastic pieces of taillight, consistent with the pieces missing from the defendant's black Lexus. 1 piece of clear plastic taillight was located in the same area, as well as also consistent with broken taillight of the Lexus. The CERT team discovered these items after digging through the still falling snow. On January 31st, investigators observed a video from the ring cameras affixed to 1 Meadow Avenue, the residence of Mr. O'Keefe. The video was observed by utilizing the ring application of the victim's cell phone. The data in the application showed 2 cameras are connected to the victim's account under his email. The 2 cameras covered the front of the driveway to the home from 6 p.m. on January 28th through 6 a.m. on the 29th. The ring camera application showed approximately 15 events between 2 cameras at the residence. Investigators observed on the ring video from the driveway camera the defendant's SUV leaving the right garage door and traveling out of the driveway onto Meadows Avenue, turning left onto Pleasant Street approximately 5:08 a.m. on January 29th. Investigators were not able to locate any ring vehicle of the same SUV arriving home that prior. Specifically, no video of the defendant arriving at the victim's home after leaving Fairview residence in the early morning of the 29th. And that is the video that they say that she hit his car. That has been released. So I'll leave that up to you if you think that she did hit it, and I will play that at some point. Ooh, this is crazy, dude. On the early months, the victim's Chevrolet Traverse SUV was parked in the far right corner of the driveway as the defendant SUV exited in reverse from the garage, coming close to the victim's SUV. It's not close. You can see it. I'm going to actually say that she did hit the car. The car moved. You can see it in the video. As the defendant's vehicle exited the driveway, the trooper observed her on the right side of the sale. As the defendant's vehicle exited the driveway, the troopers observed her right passenger side tail light to be broken. On February 3rd, Trooper Evans Bandit from Crime Scene Service arrived to Trooper Proctor's home and documented all sides of the traverse and the garage doors. No damage was observed anywhere in either vehicles or doors. No fragments, pieces, or broken taillight were discovered in the victim's driveway, nor are they observed on the ground or anywhere in the driveway when the defendant's vehicle is seen leaving at the driveway at 5:08 a.m. This case is crazy. On February 1st, Trooper B and Keefe traveled to CF McCarthy's bar and spoke with the manager of the bar. They reviewed the security video from inside the establishment from January 28th and receipts from the interior surveillance video. The troopers observed Mr. O'Keefe walking in the establishment wearing jeans, black Nike sneaker, a gray and dark long sleeve shirt, and a dark baseball hat with an American flag on the front at approximately 7:37 p.m., along with his friend Michael Camarino. Approximately at a half hour later, 8:51 p.m., the defendant enters the bar wearing a black jacket, black boots, black pants, a handbag, small purse, and a white shirt underneath her jacket. 7 minutes later, approximately 8:58 p.m., the bartender hands the defendant a tall cylinder-style glass containing clear liquid with a lime in it. Approximately 9:15, the victim hands the defendant a cylinder-style glass with a clear liquid and a lime in it. At the following times, the trooper observed in the video that the defendant receiving a shot glass with a clear liquid in it, which she successfully pours into a cylinder glass at 9:20, 9:33, 10:22, and 10:29 p.m. At approximately 9:57 p.m., the bartender observes handing the defendant a tall cylinder-style glass with a liquid in it and shot glass to be clear liquid for a total of 7 shot drinks the defendant receives and consumes during the time at the bar. At approximately 10:40 p.m., the victim and the defendant observed leaving the bar and the defendant holding her last drink in her right hand as they exited the door at the establishment. From the interior camera, the trooper observed that the victim and the defendant entered the bar at approximately 10:54 p.m. At approximately 12:10 a.m., the defendant walks out with 2 females leaving the front door. Moments later, the victim standing alone at the table takes a sip from a short cocktail glass and walks out of the bar front door holding the glass in his right hand. From the exterior camera, the troopers observed the victim walk at approximately 12:11 a.m. carrying a short cocktail glass in his right hand, meeting up with the defendant, and then the two walk towards Washington Street. The troopers observed the exterior camera that appeared to have been just began snowing with the light coating on the ground and the cars in the parking lot. It's so weird. Like, oh my God. It's like you hear that, they're saying she had a shot glass, and that's what they found, broken glass at the scene. But then you're hearing that he had a glass. I mean, I have two ways I can go with this right now, maybe three ways I can go with it, because it just sounds very weird to me. I think that what I'm going to do is read through this and probably give a couple of different scenarios what I think, but I got to go back and make notes through this. All right, let's continue. We're almost through this. On February 2nd, troopers Dane and Moore were canvassing for video footage in relation to the investigation. They proceeded to Edward J. Lynch's house at the Preckwoodside Farm in Pleasant Street in Canton. They were able to retrieve video from the footage, and the town's IA director confirmed that the date and timestamps on the video was correct. The troopers, IT director. The troopers also viewed and recovered video from Canton Town Library external cameras on February 3rd from the Beth Abrams. Both the library and the temple cameras overlook Washington Street in Canton. The distance between these two buildings were approximately 1 mile. From the video library, approximately 12:15 a.m., the troopers observe a large black SUV consistent with the defendant's Lexus traveling on North Washington Street and continue towards the temple. 4 minutes after the victim, I know that temple too. It's actually a pretty beautiful temple. Let's see, 4 minutes after the victim and the defendant exited Waterfall at approximately 12:17 a.m., from the temple video, the troopers observed a large black SUV traveling by the building towards the intersection of Washington and Denham Street in the direction of Fairview Road. From the video library at approximately 5:11 a.m., the trooper observes a large black SUV traveling Sherman Street, takes a left onto Washington, and travels in the direction of Waterfall. At approximately 5:15 a.m., the troopers observed a large black SUV traveling away from the area of Waterfall on Washington Street, crossing over Sherman and continue Washington towards the temple. From the temple video at approximately 5:18 a.m., the troopers observed a large black SUV traveling by the front of the building towards the intersection of Washington Street and Denham Street. In addition, the troopers received a via search warrant the defendant's Verizon cell phone records. Lieutenant Brian Tully of the Massachusetts State Police Department examined said records and was able to plot the defendant's movement while the phone was in use for various periods of time. The phone's movement coincided with the directions of travel of the black SUV observed in the video from the library of the temple, both on the time frames. These videos of the phone records on the morning of the 29th occurred after the defendant spoke with Ms. McCabe on the phone, after directing the victim's niece to call Ms. McCabe after the defendant is seen in the defendant's residence ring video leaving the home at 5:08. Furthermore, they advanced the defendant traveling in the direction of the home on Fairview prior to going to Ms. McCabe's home in that morning. On February 22nd, both the 10-year-old nephew CF and the 14-year-old niece KF, the victim, were interviewed at Norfolk Advocates for Children Center in Foxborough, Mass. The children indicated they had lived with their uncle, the victim, for approximately 8 years following the passing of both their parents. Oh, that's really sad. Whew. So now this guy's dead and they have no one. That's sad. Both children indicated that the victim and defendant had started dating approximately 2 years ago after having dated some time before in a distant past. They both indicated that the defendant would stay over their house on Meadows Avenue several nights a week. PF stated that the defendant and the victim argued a decent amount of time. PF recalled a recent argument over groceries and the victim expressing needing a break from the defendant. After the particular argument, the victim wanted the defendant to leave their house. However, she refused. PF indicated that he had left the home on January 28th, approximately 8 p.m. for a sleepover at a friend's house, but was not present at the home overnight. PF indicated that neither nor his sister or had access to the ring system, but believed that the defendant did from the family computer at home. I mean, as far as the argument, I mean, it's a verbal argument. Couples argue, but what I'm seeing right here, they never stated that there was any type of violence. Like they didn't say like they indicated that she hit him or he hit her. So, I mean, verbal. I mean, couples argue. All right, we'll keep moving on. KF indicated that the defendant and victim had argued a lot towards the end, approximately 2-3 times a week. She further stated approximately a week prior that she was sitting in the stairway inside the and were arguing. KF stated that she heard the victim tell the defendant that the relation has run its course and that it isn't healthy. She stated that the defendant did not want the relationship to end and refused to leave their house. KF stated that she had gone to bed approximately 11 p.m. on January 28th after a friend had left and was awoken by the defendant approximately 4:30 a.m. with the defendant screaming and acting frantic. The defendant ran into the victim's bedroom to retrieve KF's cell phone and KF and began texting and calling the victim with no response. The defendant had KF call Miss McCabe and put the defendant on the phone with her. After speaking to Miss McCabe, the defendants left the house and told KF to call Mr. I think it's Camerano to come pick her up. KF indicated during her interview that the defendant changed her story several times while speaking to Miss McCabe on the phone, with initially the defendant stating that she and the victim had gotten into an argument. She dropped him off. On January 29th, the troopers also recovered Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone, where were subsequently able to forensically extract the data from his phone. Their forensics extraction of cell logs, voicemails, and text messages between the victim and the defendant, including on the date of January 28th and 29th, detailed strains within their relationship. The victim desired to end the relationship, and the defendant description of their relationship with them and the two children had gotten toxic. The trooper recovered several voicemails from the victim's phone from the defendant following the time period. They were in front of the residence at 34. In the defendant screaming to the in which the defendant screaming to the victim, she hated him. On January 29th, the defendant were transported from the scene to the Good Samaritan Medical Center, where the blood was drawn pursuant to a medical diagnosis and treatment at that facility. The ethanol results from the records indicate that at 9:08 a.m. on the 29th, her blood had a reading of 93 milliliters. Nicholas Roberts, a forensic toxicologist from Massachusetts State Crime, performed both a serum conversion and retrograde extrapolation and said as a result, opining that Miss Reed's blood alcohol level at the time on the 29th was 0.07 and 0.08 from retrograde exploitation analysis to opine that the blood alcohol around the time period of 12:45 would have been between 0.13 and 0.29. Lastly, the facts that summarize from the grand jury presentation that spanned several months with at least 14 dates of testimony, approximately 42 witnesses, and 145 pages of grand jury transcripts, the sworn testimony from said witnesses. All right. The argument. When a defendant moves to court to subpoena potentially previous records or a tangible object, the defendant must establish good cause satisfied by showing of the following criteria: the documents that are evidentiary and relevant, that they are not otherwise procurable, reasonable in advance by trial by exercise due diligence, and the party cannot properly prepare for trial within the production and inspection in advance of the trial for the failure to sustain such. This might just be a bunch of legal stuff. Hang on. Defendant is required to make factual showing the records show have the rational tendency. Okay, it's a bunch of legal stuff. Defendant here submits supporting affidavit by one of the counsel that is simply a rhetorician of argument by the evidentiary support. The defendant posts factual facts to support. All right, hang on. This is a bunch of just legal stuff. I don't think it's really anything to the case right now. Hang on. Defendant bears the burden. Okay, so you're just, there's a lot of law here. Current motion states nothing regarding Mr. Brian Alberts. Okay, hang on a second here. Privilege records will likely be examined of those defendants' guilt. Generalizations and obscurely statements concerning a particular victim, credibly or enough, in absence of any claim, witness made any relevant statements. And I can't believe that no one in that house, if I was an investigating officer, the first thing that I would be doing is knocking on that door. If we knew that he was supposed to be at that house, why was no one interviewed inside that house, especially the owners of the house? I don't see any of that in here. That it doesn't say any officer walked to that house and talked to anybody. I mean, this is really like odd. Furthermore, several witnesses barely knew one of the other prior to this incident, let alone the victim and let alone the defendant. So they're actively perpetrating, conspiring to frame. Counsel for the defendant states merely in a conclusionary fashion based on the own conjecture, the speculation, unsupported by evidence, and rather the direct objection to the evidence, testimony presented to the grand jury in this matter, which is such a conspiracy between civilians and Canton police officers, other law enforcement officers acting in the civilian capacity as witnesses. I'm just trying to read through some of this. At the time period the defendant is requesting access is unclear. On the first page of the defendant's motion, she requests all cell phones possession. Later in Brian Albert's between January 28th, 2022 and present. Later in the same motion, the defendant requests information from the phone from January 28th, 2022 through the February 25th, 22. The defendant requests for such unfeathered access within the evidence of material said content is without support. The time frame requested is never explained, is never too far expansive. Furthermore, containing hang on a second here. I just want to read through some of this. Let's see. A lot of legal stuff. The defendant seemed to suggest that the body of Mr. O'Keefe was discovered the morning by the defendant and Miss McCabe. However, Miss Roberts was present with them at the time, as well as, but remains absent from counsel resuscitation of the facts. Counsel further states that Miss McCabe inserted herself in the defendant's search that morning for Mr. O'Keefe. However, it was the defendant that awoke the victim's niece at 4:30 a.m. and had the niece repeatedly text and called the victim and asked or instructed the niece to call Miss McCabe at 4:53 a.m. Miss McCabe answered this call from the victim's niece, not from the defendant. During this call, the defendant stated that Miss McCabe initially said that she last remembered seeing the victim at the waterfall. When informed by Miss McCabe that she had seen the victim and defendant leaving the waterfall together and seen the defendant's vehicle in front of the Fairview residence, the defendant then stated that she had left the victim on Fairview and then had gotten into an argument. The statements by the defendant to Miss McCabe during the call was confirmed by the victim's niece and her interview. This is a wild case, man. Holy shnikes. The defendant then drove the victim home to Miss McCabe's home, exiting the garage at 5:08, per the victim's ring camera footage. Said ring cam footage, however, does not contain any video of the defendant's arrival to the victim's home after the said left the Fairview residence. The defendant arrived at the home of Miss McCabe at approximately 5:30. Shortly followed by Miss Roberts, whom defendant had also called the morning and provided a different story to the victim whereabouts, and then that she stated to Miss McCabe, the video from both Canton Town Library and the Temple, coupled with the movements of the defendant's cellular photos. All right, hang on a second here. Counsel for the defendant states that the victim's injury demonstrated that he was beaten. Here we go. This is what I want to get into. Counsel for the victim states that the victim's injuries, counsel for the defendant states that the victim's injury demonstrated that he was severely beaten and left for dead. The victim's medical records belittle this characterization of his injuries. The medical records from Good Samaritan characterize the victim's injuries as right superior orbital ridge region, approximately 7 millimeter laceration, surrounding soft tissue swell, contusion, breath sounds bilaterally, pulse, superficial abrasions, right forearm. Dr. B testified before the grand jury at length regarding the victim's injuries. The doctor described Mr. O'Keefe's right arm injuries as scratches caused by a blunt object. The doctor noted they appeared to be linear pattern. The doctor detailed that she observed no signs of an altercation or fight from her examination of Mr. O'Keefe. Lastly, she testified in great detail as to the swelling of his eyes beginning to relate to the fractures in his skull and how that manifest into the observation swelling in discoloration of the face. There are no conflicting accounts of the victim exiting the defendant's vehicle and entering the residence of Fairview, as counsel states. Mr. Nagel's testimony does not demonstrate what counsel suggests. Mr. Nagel did not say there was not a passenger in the defendant's vehicle. He stated merely that as he drove past the vehicle, they only saw the female operator. Excuse me. Mr. Nagel also testified that the vehicle he was a passenger within the defendant's vehicle arriving on Fairview at the same time, pulling up to the curb in front of the residence in tandem. Mr. Nagel further stated that at no time did he see the defendant's vehicle without its brake lights illuminated, never saw anyone exit the vehicle, let alone enter the home, saw no footprints around the vehicle, nor anyone outside of it, observing any damage to the defendant's vehicle, never lost sight of the vehicle at the time pulling up on the street, and left his friend's truck. I just want to see something here. The fence McCabe trilled across the nurse. All right, so they're basically just arguing and giving some explanation. Just want to see this. And again, I have the link up to the PCA up above. If you want to read through this, the argument. Okay, this is very important to this case, and I want everybody to, and this is what I wanted to get to. Okay, so this is actually very, very important because this is a fact in this case. Okay, ready? The Commonwealth did not hold the information from the defense. When the defense requested raw extracted data, they're talking about data that was extracted from phones from the Commonwealth, it was timely provided. As detailed in Trooper Nicholas' report, the Commonwealth ran Miss McCabe's phone through a Cellular Bright UFED reader that was created on May 4th, 2022. Ready? The defense expert, used a physical Cellular Bright physical analyzer, a newer update version of the software utilized to download said material. The preparatory incriminating search in questions, now this is McCabe, Miss McCabe, does not appear to download material using earlier versions of software, therefore did not early extraction. The update version of Cellular Bright was not in existence at the time the trooper initially downloaded does show such search. However, the Google search Haas long to die in cold did not occur at 12:27 a.m. The file, and that has been something in this case, that on her phone, McCabe did Google how long, and she spelt it wrong, how long to die in cold. The file was pursued from the right along the wall file. I know that the wall file that database creates temporary storage. Let's see, on the iPhone, user would not be able to access the wall file through the phone and purposely deleted entries. It says the iPhone user would not be able to access the wall file through the phone to purposely delete entries placed there, as counsel perpetrates Miss McCabe did. Let's see. In addition, at the exact same time of 22740, there's a search located in Knowledge C database. This timestamp is interaction of Safari tab in the iPhone search on the Ozone basketball website, and did not search how long to die in cold. So this is the argument. This is the argument against what the defense is saying. I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm probably not going to read too much more of this, but I can definitely, like I said at the top, you can continue to read. We're left off about page 32. The defense expert also located a deleted screenshot of Brian Albert's contact information. The screenshot was created at 6:08 a.m. And on January 27, 22, a review of the call log shows Miss McCabe's phone makes calls to Nicole and Brian Albert's phones that morning. Why? The first call to Nicole Alberts occurred at 6:07 and was listed as answered, lasted a duration of 9 seconds. The second call to Nicole Albert occurred at 6:08 and lasted only 7 seconds. Calls that go to voicemail registers unanswered. The call to Brian Alberts occurred at 6:23 and is listed as unanswered. Brian Alberts' contact information was not deleted from the phone, was still present within it. Ms. McCabe signed the voluntary consent. So they're showing the defense, and then they're arguing against it. What the defense is saying, then they're arguing against it. Defense is saying, they're arguing against it. So this is interesting too. The defense expert also highlighted and reviewed health and location data from both Miss McCabe and Brian O'Keefe's cellular phones. Counsel for the defendant states that the data equivalently shows that Miss McCabe was up all night pacing around the second floor of her home and that Mr. O'Keefe entered the residence on Fairview. Omitted from the defendant's motion is that the same data relied upon for that subsequent also reveals that Mr. O'Keefe presumably took 133 steps at 8:08 a.m., 68 steps at 8:25 a.m., 87 steps at 7:57, 81 steps at 11:08 a.m., 109 at 11:18, and 46 steps at 11:56 a.m. Mr. O'Keefe was pronounced deceased at Good Samaritan Hospital at 7:50 a.m. The defendant's motion also highlights that Mr. O'Keefe's data indicates that in between 12:21 a.m. and 12:24, his health data reads that his phone ascended and descended 3 floors, and therefore Mr. O'Keefe must have entered the home at Fairview. To call this data unreliable is an understatement. And that house does have 3 floors, by the way. So I'll just throw that out there. The location data next entry in the vicinity of 34 Fairview at the 12:59 is the same location, bar 18. Check the location data. Let's see. Simply put, the counsel's facts section assumes intense, sensationalized, or misconstrued statements made by between those of the witnesses. The motion merely assumes, through no evidentiary support, that such a wide-range conspiracy exists and such any content indicative in said conspiracy must be found within this phone and call detail records and would be relevant. However, the motion is scant in the evidence that such statement was made by the witness or by conspiracy ever existed. The defendant's motion contained no specific or even opaque mention of any known statements by a witness to each other, let alone through the employment of a cellular device he seeks. There's nothing to demonstrate that the items sought, they are either evidentiary or relevant, is that any of the fishing expedition for foregoing reasons and those articulated by the Commonwealth at the hearing motion, this requested should be denied. You take a breath. This was dated May 3rd, 2023. And I'm going to do this for everybody. If you want a copy of the PCA, I'll drop the link there. It's at the top as well. You can read through it. I have it definitely starred on my end. There's a lot of reading. I've lost my voice now. I'm not ending. I still have a little bit more here that I want to go through. We're only about an hour and a half deep. So what I want to do here now, oh, my eyes are all messed up from staring at a white page for a while. Let me just do a little housekeeping here. Thank you everybody for letting me get through that and read through it. I appreciate that. This is crazy. So I'm going to take a poll, and after reading through that, let's do this. Okay. I'm going to take a poll, and I'm going to get a temperature on the room here and see where everybody's at. So simple question. Do you think Karen did this? Simple question. Now, again, like I talked about in the beginning, this is a very difficult case. It's a very, very difficult case in the sense of that there is law enforcement that is involved. There are law enforcement that is being implicated by the defense that they beat this guy up and left him dead in the snow. And we are in our society, trained to trust law enforcement, to trust our law enforcement officials, because that's what they're for. They're public servants to help us in the time of need. And it's really tough. I know police officers. I have police officers that are friends. And that's why I ask, if we take the police officer angle out of this, if we take that out, and let's say that you think, would this change anything in this case? For instance, let's just say, oh, there's just no way that these guys could have done that. There's no way that these police officers could have done that. Let's just say we'll take that element out. Would you look at the case differently? I still have a lot of questions in this case. Is it possible that Karen was so drunk, she dropped John off, she hit him, and didn't realize it and went home? And then when started to sober up, she went, oh my God, I could have killed him. I could have hit him. Or is it possible that John did walk into that house? There was a fight that ensued. Things got out of hand. John got hurt. John ultimately succumbed to his injuries and was put out on that front lawn. There's that possibility. There's a possibility that Karen Reed had been setting this up the whole time, waiting for her opportunity, angry that her lover was going to leave her. Took the opportunity during the snowstorm for cover, backed up over him. That's the three possibilities that I see right now. Those are the three possibilities that I see right now. And again, I still want to look into this. I think there's still a lot to uncover. So what I want to do here now is I don't have the breath to go through this. There's another 24-page document that came out from the defense. I'm gonna read through that probably on another post because it's 24 pages, and it's in some response to some new recent evidence that's discovered or some of the past evidence. But what I want to show you here is Turtle Boy went out to 34 Fairview the other day and did an experimentation, and I want to show what he did, and I'll let you I'll let you make your decision on that. And I'm actually going to go out to Fairview tomorrow, get some video out there of the area. Maybe I'll run into Turtle Boy, but we'll pull this up and I'll just show kind of this experiment that he did so you guys can get an idea of what it looks in and around that area and what they are saying that happened that night. So let's play this video here. I hope Turtle Boy doesn't mind. Please go over and subscribe to him if you're interested in this case. Again, he hits it at a different angle that I do. He has his shtick. I have mine. But at some point, when I learn more about this case and to understand it a little bit more, I'm going to try to reach out to him and get him on the podcast so we can talk about it. All right, let's play this video here.
So look at, this is where, so Karen, so okay, we marked 62 feet off, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where Karen Reed started. That's where the back of her car started, okay? And you see the line down there, the other line, that's where he got hit, okay? So, I mean, that's 62 feet. So we have to believe, right, that the freaking car, that, so it went, first of all, it curves. Notice how the road curves? So I hit the bumper. You guys can see down there, the the mark. I hit the bumper the first time I did this. I reached 14 miles an hour the first time I did it. I just did it again. I got up to 27. No, I apologize. 17 miles an hour, right? I got up to 17 miles an hour. Now, that lady yelling at us. And then, but 24, man, I mean, when I went from 14 to 17, that was a big jump. 24, it curves. Like, I hit the fucking curb. There's no way if she, so let me guess. Go stand down there, like where John was. So, like, just.
And keep in mind, I want to throw this out there too. You got to keep in mind, this was in a blizzard. This all happened in a blizzard that night. There's extreme snow conditions that night.
So Richie's John's height too, right? So she drops him off, right? And then for some reason he stands there in the middle of a snowstorm. He just stands there. And Karen pulls up here. She gives him time to, because he's all mad and she wants to kill him. And what? Hey, John, I want to kill you. I fucking hate you. Can you just stand right there for like a minute so I can pull?
Now, again, you got to kind of understand Turtle Boy's humor. You know, he's going to approach things a little bit more abrasively than I would. So, again, this is kind of his shtick, you know, and, but I think this is interesting. This really is interesting. Let's back up a little bit more here.
In the middle of a snowstorm, he just stands there. And Karen pulls up here. She gives him time to, because he's all mad and she wants to kill him. And what? Hey, John, I want to kill you. I fucking hate you. Can you just stand right there for like a minute so I can pull forward 62 feet and then gun it in reverse? And then the car's coming at you. And so the car comes back here, right? She somehow, I don't know, she doesn't turn it because they didn't say anything about any tire marks on the curb. I just made tire marks on the curb. Look at this shit. So John is standing right here where the car comes back and he just doesn't go in. Like, why did she drop him off right here? We've been over this. Why did she drop him off right here and not in the driveway, right? And he just stands here. And he's like, yeah, just hit me because I feel like dying today. And then, again, see this right over here? Those are my tire marks because I didn't turn it. I didn't turn the wheel. So I hit the freaking curb. So Karen's car is a tank. So she hits him, right? And somehow his body goes that way. Maybe he tried to get out of the way, because that's what they're saying. And they just knocked it that way. And then, so then what? How does she not run him over? Like, so it says it keeps going. So she hits him with the back of her car, with the right back of the car. That's how far away it is, right? And just boom, hits him there. How the hell does he get the head injuries?
And the arm wounds, right?
And the arm wounds. It's all
He
grass.
ran him over, but the undercarriage got him. But it couldn't, according to this theory, he just go there flying. You know?
Yeah.
Shoe comes off, hat comes off.
Yeah. How do you get the scratches? How do you get the scratches that way?
Dog bites.
The dog bites, whatever. Oh no, whatever. The abrasions, I'm not a medical examiner, so what do I know? But that's fucked up. So we're gonna try it again.
I think the thing that's interesting here for me, when I looked at this video, and I didn't realize that video, that street curves, that makes a huge. No. I got this one, Angela. I live 20 minutes from this place. No, it's not JLR. That's Turtle Boy. But I'm gonna go down there tomorrow and get some video, because I want to get video. I'm gonna get down on a lower angle and see the curve of the road. Now, if you're the first time going over there, and she's supposedly 64 feet out and backs up at 24 miles an hour, and didn't know that like he said, didn't know that the road curved there, and look what happened. He went up onto the sidewalk and caused skid marks. So you're going to just tell me, and again, I'm playing the side here now that Karen didn't do it. So you're going to tell me that she shows up to a place that she's never been at, drives up 60 feet, knows expertly to get right into reverse, and backs up with the curve of the road perfectly the first time, and hits this guy, and he goes 12 feet onto the lawn. Let's just logically think about it. So it's interesting. And that's why I say I start to weigh on all this stuff. I read the PCA and I go, yeah, that's okay. That probably happened. Yeah. And Crime Spies just said, plus she's drunk. So she was an expert driver, backing up 60 feet, knew the curve of the road on the first time backing up, lined the car up properly. John O'Keefe just stands there, doesn't move out of the way, and plunk. And he goes flying 60 feet in a blizzard. Or let's just say it even just started snowing, because someone said, well, it just started snowing. So again, I read the PCA and say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But then I see the theory of it when people actually go out and do the experimentations like this. And I go, all right, well, wait a minute. Doesn't make sense. And that's why I wanted to dig into this case, because I think it's fascinating. It's very interesting. All right, let's keep playing through this. We'll back up a little bit more here. I'm wondering if his lines are still there, if I'll see the lines on the road that he drew.
Wounds. There's like
Trying to say
it's all grass.
he ran him over, but the undercarriage got him. But it couldn't, according to this theory, he just go the flying.
Yeah.
Shoe comes off, hat comes off,
Yeah. How do you get the scratches? How do you get the scratches that way?
dog bites.
The dog bites, whatever. Oh no, whatever. The abrasions, I'm not a medical examiner, so what do I know? But that's fucked up. So
Doesn't make sense.
It was
We're
2
gonna
inches
try it
of
again.
snow on the
We're gonna
ground.
try-
It was 2 inches of snow on the ground by that time at night.
doing this one more time. You want to do it one more time?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can reach this time. Let's go.
Done it.
Now he's got about the same size SUV as Karen.
Can you hold my camera too, or is that too much to ask? Okay. It's still taping, so
All right.
there we go.
And again, listen, I'm going to say this. I think people are going to weigh on one side, and I think people are going to weigh on the other side. You are your own free will. You can agree or disagree. If you think that everything in that PCA is correct, then that's, you go that way. If you think Karen Reed is innocent and she didn't do this, and there's a lot of questions still going on in this case, you can feel that way too. I'm trying to look at the objective of Karen Reed, John O'Keefe, and there's a house with people in it. That's the way that I'm looking at this case. I'm trying to take out the whole law enforcement thing altogether. All right, let's keep playing through this. See what we got here. If you're just coming in the room, we're at 87 upvotes. If you can just take a moment and give this a like, I really would appreciate it. We're trying to get to 100 upvotes tonight. Let's do it.
Yep.
So I hit 19 miles an hour there. That was pretty. That felt fast as shit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That was really fast. So,
Oh, thanks, Gary.
again, I don't think I could have gone above that. That was.
All right, I want to go back and look at the backup there. And again, this is not like a perfect scientific experiment, but he said he hit about 19 miles an hour. We'll say, 19 miles an hour. I don't know. I think I would just bounce off the car. I don't think I would get injured that bad. I would love to see what experimentation, like someone was saying, let's get an SUV. And I'm sure that the defense is going to do this. Get an SUV, get it like one of those injury or crash test dummies, put it behind the car and back up into it and see what happens. Because if you hit, I don't know. It just seems like you would bounce off, maybe roll on the concrete. I don't think it would kill you, right? Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Just to me, it looks like you would just kind of bounce off, maybe roll on the street and probably get up, maybe hurt your arm, your leg, something like that. So I don't know. It's just really weird. Crime Spy says, she makes a good point. She says, and if he was really hit and injured, but coherent enough to crawl, he'd be coherent enough to phone a friend or call 911. This case is crazy. All right, let's watch that back up again. I can't wait to get out there tomorrow and get some.
So I hit 19 miles an hour there. That was pretty. I mean, that felt fast as shit.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, that was really fast. So, again, I don't think I could have gone above that. That was literally as fast as I could possibly go, and I felt like I was dying. Like there was there was fucking like an amusement park ride, except it's like real life. And she fucking like, give me a break. This is a fucking joke. So I mean, that's fast. First of all, think of how loud that was fast, right?
Yeah.
Like that seemed fast. So
That seemed really fast.
yeah. Okay, guys. So we'll see. We got some more testing out to do.
All right. So that's Turtle Boy on location. I'm going to get down to Fairview tomorrow, and I want to get out there and get some video myself and show you guys the area. I might do actually a live from there and just walk the neighborhood a little bit. There's a lot of indications in this. It's a lot of indications. And I don't know. This is crazy. It's very, very weird. And it makes me think, makes me think. I think there's a couple of different scenarios what happened. But I'll get boots on the ground out there tomorrow. The weather's supposed to be here good. I might do a live. So if it's live tomorrow, it's probably going to be like mid-morning, maybe like 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. If I do a live, if not, I'll just shoot some video. I'm sure people are probably not too happy with people shooting video in and around that area. I want to try to be respectful to the new homeowners as well too. But if I can get out and walk around and just kind of show you the neighborhood and give you all some perspective. I literally only live like 20 minutes from this location. So I may go there. Well, I'm definitely going to go there tomorrow. I'm just not too sure what time. So just be, look out. If you're looking for the live tomorrow, it may be sometime like, after lunchtime Eastern Standard Time, or maybe 11 a.m. or noontime Eastern Standard Time, around then. And I'll take a ride. I'll take a ride up and, do maybe a small live from there, just to give you a perspective of what it looks like in and around that area. And I want to get where that curve in the road is so you all can see it. I'm invested in this. I really am invested in this. And, like Harley Girl was just saying, it's a tough one. It really is tough. So it's weird. It's really weird. Let's see. Let's say, hang on a second. Let me see. All right, let's look at this really quick. Oh, these fuckers. Hang on a second. Here, hang on. Oh my God. I'm trying to get to. All right, let's look at an article really quick from the Daily Beast. Woman accused of drunkenly killing Boston cop boyfriend faces murder charges. This is June 10, 2022. So actually drunken mowing down. Massachusetts professor accused of drunkenly mowing down her cop boyfriend in January now will face a charge of second-degree murder, an upgraded from manslaughter charges previously filed against her, the Boston Globe reports. Hang on a second. Let's see. Karen Reed, 42, is accused of killing longtime Boston police officer John O'Keefe at the night of bar hopping during a nor'easter. That's what we say here in New England, a nor'easter that dropped about 20 inches of snow in the area. Police allege she got behind the wheel to drive home from a friend's house, but struck her partner along the way, killing him. Reed allegedly continued home as usual, however, leaving O'Keefe in the snowbank undiscovered until following morning. Prosecutors said in court that Reed was heard telling paramedics at the scene, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. According to NBC 10, Reed was initially arrested on manslaughter charges and paid $50,000 to be bailed out. She was rearrested Thursday, however, after a grand jury indicted her on charges of second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a collision. She had pleaded not guilty to the new counts. How did this go to a Donald Trump thing? Okay, I guess that's it. So that's where we're at. I don't know. It's crazy, but we're going to get out there tomorrow, do some boots on the ground. I'll get some video or I'll do a small live from there, JLR style. Get everybody some boots on the ground. It's weird. It's a weird case. You know, the dog is gone. The house has been sold. Like, you know, I'll walk around and see if there's any type of security cameras. Kelly was asking, you know, yeah, the Daily Beast. I know. It's the only article I could pull up because all the Boston articles want me to subscribe, and I don't want to subscribe to any of their papers. So it's really strange. Let me I just want to see something. Actually, Turtle Boy's live right now. All right, hang on a second. I just want to see something. He was doing a couple experimentation videos out there. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just see if I got anything else here. I mean, he's going hard on this right now. Views from 31 and 30. Okay, let's check this out. Through views from 31 and 33 Fairview. All right, let's check this out. He's got a lot of video on this. I'm going to play one more of these, and then I'm going to close this up because we're coming close to 2 hours. And then I'm going to get out there tomorrow and get some boots on the ground stuff for you all. All right, let's play this.
All right, we're on Fairview Road. I'm going to go over here to 31 Fairview and just knock on the door. So look at how close that is. Look at that angle right there from 31 Fairview. It's got a ring right there. And again, look at that angle right there. How could it not pick it up? That's where the body was dropped. It's the perfect angle.
They have wide lenses too.
I mean, look at that right there. That wouldn't pick it up. Look at that.
So that's 31 Fairview. That's got a ring cam.
I mean, there's a car in the driveway, right? Someone's got it.
And I'll be out there to see that house tomorrow. I'm not gonna knock on the door, but but I might be able to see that ring cam tomorrow.
All right, doesn't look like they're going to answer. I could ring one more time.
And this is 31 Fairview, and
Because
they
again, this is astounding.
at 34 Fairview is right there.
I can even put my camera up there and see the view.
Yeah.
So that's 31. And if you look, there's 34. That's right where the incident supposedly happened. They have video of it. They have video of it. I mean, they flat out have video of everything that happened that night. Believe me, that camera saw everything.
I can even put my camera up there and see the view.
Yeah. Like that's the view it would have gotten.
That's the exact view.
That's the
Wow.
view right there. O'Keefe was found right here. This is essentially right where Karen Reed's SUV was supposedly spotted, and she would have backed up 60 feet at 24 miles an hour to hit him, and then O'Keefe's body would be found here. They would see everything on that camera. Everything on that camera. 100%. 100%.
It's right there. Okay. All right, on to the next one. Let's go to 30.
It would have been good for seeing when cars left too to verify the time. You know?
Oh, totally. It would have, if anything, it would have a perfect view of her car leaving.
Yeah.
Because she went south. Or if it, like, there would be, because the ring camera picks up noises. Like, it would have picked up noises from it.
Would see the headlights.
Yep. So now we're going to go to 31 Fairview Road.
Well, he was going to go up and he knocked on the door. You can go up as a journalist and knock on someone's door and ask them if they want to talk. He's a award-winning journalist. So as a journalist, you're allowed to go up and knock on someone's door. They don't have to talk to you, but he rang their bell.
Knock on this door. Another one that would have, so there's 34 Fairview. And that's where the body was, right between the flagpole again and closer to the fire hydrant. Right there. Okay. Right where the mulch starts. Somehow her car propelled him up that far. And again, look, it's not a big lawn. Like Matt McCabe's standing in the window and looks outside, sees her car do a 3-point turn right there, and doesn't see anything else. Like doesn't see, he says he sees V-shaped tire marks, but doesn't see a gigantic body lying in the snow. So here's 31 Fairview, another one. But they have a ring camera. We'll see what they say. .33 Fairview, rather. Another ring camera. Everyone's got ring, huh?
Now, this is a neighbor's house, right?
This is a neighbor's house, correct. It's across the street, and that is the view that their ring camera would have. They would certainly have.
Yeah, Canton's a really nice place. Very expensive homes.
Because
That house right there,
right
when they sold that house, 34 Fairview, it was just sold for under $1 million. It was like 905,000.
off in that driveway.
So I'll be out there tomorrow. I'm not going to knock on people's
On the
doors.
ring,
I'll walk the
can't they
neighborhood.
get a notification on their phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they can see me wherever they are.
Yeah.
And here, and I mean you no harm. Just have a couple questions. We're trying to get justice for John O'Keefe. Figured you might like to help.
Super expensive here, Carrie.
An innocent man was murdered across the street from you, and just kind of wanted to see if you had footage or if the police asked for footage at all. So I'm not sure if anyone's hearing this right now, but you can reach me on Facebook at Clarence Woods Emerson or email me turtleboysports@gmail.com. I'd love to know. Thank you. All right. All right, let's go to 34 Fairview. So again, this is Karen pulls in from Cedar Crest over there. Pulls up here. John jumps out. Oh, there's a little boy there.
Excuse me. All right. That's where we're at. We just got it 2 hours. I think I'm going to end this tonight. I'm going to get some rest. I'm going to get out to 34 Fairview tomorrow. I may do a live. You know what I'll do? I'll make the tile tonight and put it up. I'll probably go live from there. And then if you can't catch the live, you can just come back and just watch on replay. But I'm going to get out there, boots on the ground tomorrow, show you what the neighborhood looks like, show you what the crime scene looks like, and get you some perspective. Hopefully people are cool in the area, because I'm probably sure a lot of people have been going out there shooting video, whatever. But hey, that's all part of journalism. I know we all get yelled at about it. So that's it. It's an interesting case. I'm going to be going hard on this case for quite a while. And this is the it case for me right now. This is very important. I mean, this is 20 minutes from my house. This is very, very important. So I'll be out there tomorrow. As far as my schedule, I have the rest of the week off. I left my job today. It was an emotional leaving. I'll be starting my new career on Monday. I already have my schedule for that. My lives the next following week are probably going to be a little bit later in the evening, and I'll probably try to keep them shorter, maybe to like an hour and a half. And then we go from there. We see how life is from there. So I have a lot of stuff to do around my house this week. I have some videos that I want to make. I have a lot of lives I want to get into, because when I have time off, that's all I want to do. I just want to crank content, and keep putting content out there. Hopefully, sometime in this next week, I either cross paths with Turtle Boy, because I plan on going out there to Fairview a couple of days this week, or possibly try to get him on the podcast and just explain his side of the story and his reporting. You know, what has he found? There's a lot of questions in this case, and there's a lot of answers that need to be put out there. And again, we'll keep hitting this hard. I'm telling you, if you're not watching these lives and you haven't put your eyes on this case, and you think Idaho is the grand all case, I'm telling you, if you want drama, you want that chase, you want information, this is the case. This is going to be just as big as Idaho. I'm telling you, it's going to be just as big as Idaho. Come over, watch these lives. You don't want to miss out on this. I'm pulled in already. I'm super pulled into this case. So I'm hoping we can get some attention on this case, some more people to come in and watch these lives, and you know, really deep dive into this. Let me get up here to the question I asked earlier. Do you think that Karen Reed did this? The room says right now 80% no and 20% yes. So oh, by the way, if anybody wants to read the next 24-page motion, I'll drop it. That's the link for it there. And I'll probably read that in the future. What I plan on doing tomorrow night is I'm going to play the hearings tomorrow night. So the initial arrest, and then there was just another hearing not too long ago. And I may go down if I can get down this week. If Canton has a hearing this week, I'll go down there and get into the hearing and see what's going on and talk to people, because I know Turtle Boy's been going to all of them, and see what the vibe is down there, and just try to talk to some people on the scene. And because I have time, I have plenty of time. So and again, this is only 20-25 minutes from my house. So plan on for a live tomorrow mid-afternoon, and then we'll come back tomorrow night and we'll recap during the live, and we'll play the hearings. I think this is going to be a fun case to investigate. And again, I have a lot of access to right where it is, so I'm not very far from the scene. And again, the bottom line is this: John O'Keefe, Boston police officer, lost his life. We need to find out what happened. We need to find out the truth. We need to get it out there, and you know, and find justice for John O'Keefe, because that's the most important thing here. So I appreciate everybody for coming into this episode. I'm hoping we can get just as many eyes on this case as everybody's fascinated by Idaho. I get it. Idaho's not in the title, so people don't tend to come watch the lives, but you are missing out. This is a very, very important case, and I think there's a lot to go through here. So come back, join the lives when you can. On your way out, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and support LTL. We're a growing platform, and we do this in the interest of justice. So thank you all so much. I hope everybody has an amazing night. Thank you to my moderators, my subscribers. I'm sorry I couldn't pull up all the chat this evening. I was just deep dive and reading. So a lot of things to go through, So everybody be well. Look for the live tomorrow. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.